Welcome back to Sister Scoot, where we are giving you guys the top 3 Marvel news topics of the week. It's been the weirdest week of really any Marvel fan's life. And I think if you've been paying any sort of attention, you are also like, yep, this was
Whiplash.
crazy. Yeah.
Insane.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're going to start with like the most mild thing that I think came out this week, which was Black Panther 3, which we kind of we've talked about it a little bit before. Ryan Coogler has said that's his next movie. Well, seems like we're getting a date or a rough date, and it's going to be 2028 when we see Black Panther 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's super exciting. Y'all know we are huge fans of the Black Panther franchise. Excited to kind of see where they take it. I think Wakanda Forever was fantastic, left a lot of different avenues for how that franchise can continue moving forward. Obviously, it'll be affected by, the events of the next 2 crossover films, so it may not be necessarily a direct line, but I still think either way it's going to be an incredible entry. Those films always are. So super pumped about that. It will be interesting to kind of see, and this is kind of the conversation that I've seen online around it, where in 2028 it comes out, just knowing that at the end of the year in 2027, obviously will be Secret Wars. That's going to be huge. If it is on the earlier side of 2028, it is going to be our first film of the new phase, the first film kind of dealing potentially with the ramifications of whatever happens in Secret Wars. So that's going to be a pretty big deal if that's the case.
Yeah, I'm actually a little shocked they're having it be Black Panther, only because, unfortunately, for obviously bigger reasons than the universe itself, this franchise really had to redo itself in its second movie. So I'm a little shocked that they're giving them possibly that first movie slot after whatever the heck we're going to get in Secret Wars. My only idea with that, and why I think it makes sense, is it's been talked a lot about recasting T'Challa or having his son be kind of aged up during the events of Doomsday and Secret Wars. And so I do wonder if it's going to lead in that direction. And that way, really, Black Panther 3 ends up being his first movie in which he's donning the Black Panther, mantle. So I do wonder if that's kind of the direction that's going to go, just because, like I said, that's been a rumor since Black Panther 2 came out and we all watched the end credit. Like, we all have had those ideas generating and going through the whole idea maker in our brains. So I do think that could probably be the direction. Otherwise, I am just only a little worried because if that's not the way it goes, again, this franchise has been through it. So I'm hoping, it's seamless to go and kind of kick off the beginning of the third saga for Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really fascinating. To your point, there's been so much pivoting done by this particular franchise, and they've done it exceptionally well, dealing with really awful circumstances that they all have spoken about, dealing with those emotions on top of having to deal with the logistics of it all. So I'm just excited, everything that I know he's still working on it, but everything that we've heard so far, even adding Denzel and things like that, I mean, it's going to be, these movies are always top tier. So any tidbit, I'm like, bring it on. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, like I said, that was probably the most mild news we had this week. And let me tell you guys, T stayed with me for a couple days, and when we were trying to figure out, we've pushed back recording a couple days just because there was so much going on. But initially, when we were trying to record like 3 days ago, we were like, all right, what do we think we're going to do for Sister Scoop? And we're like, wow, really nothing's coming out. This was like the Black Panther news. Yeah, we were like, that's the only thing we're seeing. Well, then, the next couple of days has happened since this happened, since we had that discussion. And oh my God, I mean, we have gotten so many trailer leaks. We're going to start with the more minor of the trailer leaks, which is Brand New Day, Spider-Man Brand New Day. We've gotten a leak for that movie, which we're expecting next year. When next year? Confirm.
July.
That's what I thought. I couldn't remember if I was just going off of whichever one of his came out in July, one of the home ones that I'm not remembering off the top of my head right now. But yes, so July of next year, that is when we're expecting it, and we have gotten leaks.
Yes, this is exciting. I will be very curious, to see how this is all handled. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I was reading was like, this is a very rough cut. Supposedly it's kind of like market testing, and like somebody just recorded their market testing, which like hero. I appreciate you doing us all a good service. Quality's bad too. I at least the video that I couldn't, or the video that I tried to watch, I couldn't actually see a lot of the visuals, but the
Same.
audio is a little bit more clear. We get to hear Sadie Sinking character for the first time, maybe giving a little bit of a hint of kind of the relationship that she's going to have with Spider-Man in this film. We got to see the Punisher. We got full confirmation that the Hulk is now in this film. I know that's been like, yes, no, maybe so, but also like everybody kind of knew he was in it for, I don't remember how we knew that. But anyway, so that's kind of been confirmed. There's been a lot of like information shared, I think, from that. I'll be curious, knowing it's a rough cut, how that has changed. Are they going to
Yeah.
completely like redo it now that the internet has seen it? In terms of like credibility, you know, there's a lot with AI and everybody's kind of like double checking all their sources now, which we all have to do. But a lot of people are saying, you know, Sony's starting to copyright infringement claim on a lot of these videos, which does give it a lot of credibility that it is the actual, you know, trailer early cut. So, long story short, if you haven't seen it yet, rush, because Sony is like really working like overtime to take it down.
Yeah.
And it's worth checking out because there's good information in there, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I think to me, and we won't go too deep into it because at the end of the day, especially if you're avoiding the leaks, I mean, I get it. I was trying to avoid the one we're going to talk about next. And then, well, Taylor was like, we actually kind of have to talk about it. So you need to go watch it. And then
Yeah.
I accidentally saw it anyway. I was like, well, I just pulled it up right as we were having this discussion. So whatever. But I get it if you're trying to avoid, especially like for the Spider-Man ones, whatever. The only thing I will add is, as you kind of mentioned with the whole Sadie Sink thing, it does seem like she may be more in a villain role than any of the other roles I think most of us kind of assume she'd be taking on. So I do think that's going to be very interesting, just to see how that plays out and just see what her longevity may or may not be in the MCU.
Yeah, or at the very least, she's antagonistic to Spider-Man in this film. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that evolves over the course of the story.
Yeah. I'm going to still vote for like a Felicia Hardy just to come out of right field. Like I would love
Yes.
it. And I think that would make
Yeah.
a lot of sense to kind of what we've seen. So
Yeah, and I mean, if she's gonna be in Secret Wars, I was reading an article and they were like, a one movie villain doesn't really give her like a storyline to move into that film,
right.
if that rumor is true. So she would likely be someone a little bit more prominent. And you're right, Felicia does kind of have that, for better or worse, like cat and mouse relationship with Spider-Man.
Yes, exactly. Moving on to the big leak, the big leaks of the week.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, so Doomsday, well, first off, let's start with like the top level of it is that Doomsday, we were told we were getting 4 different trailers.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of told the rough dates of the trailers, and then it was kind of like who the trailers are going to be about, so we kind of got that information. And then we started getting the leaks.
Yeah.
And I think we all saw, I think almost the entire internet definitely saw the Steve Rogers leak that came out like 2 days ago.
Yeah. So before we talk about this any deeper, I do just want to preface by saying we are kind of pivoting this week. We were going to continue, you know, our replay series with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but we're actually going to dedicate our full length audio episode to the leaks, what they could mean, some of the theories, our feelings,
Thoughts.
because there are many and they are strong. So we're
What
gonna
else is new?
I know. We're gonna keep this very, very high level in Sister Scoop. If you're interested in like all the details that I just laid out, definitely go check out our audio episode that's gonna come out this weekend. Because that's gonna dive into it much more deeply. But we'll give you the TLDR right here, right now, so you have like base level context. But yeah, to Katie's point, 4 trailers. We're gonna be focused on Cap, Thor, Doom, and then a 4th trailer that's going to be kind of like the traditional that we get, a little bit more focused on the storyline rather than the characters. And then earlier this week we got the Cap leak, which, you know, talks about, or really shows kind of his life after he did not return from putting the stones back in place, and we see him as a father. Then I want to say it was yesterday we're recording this on Thursday. I want to say it was yesterday we got the Thor leak, which was audio only. There was no visuals to that. I'm not going to read it out in this episode because it's a few sentences and that's time, but we will read it out in the our full length audio episode. That kind of gives a little bit of a hint about what his main goal is going to be in Secret Wars. There's definitely some theories that are coming out around that, which are really fascinating to dive into. And I'm actually excited to kind of talk about that because it's not at all what I thought this movie was going to be like, if that's true. So that's another one. Those are trying to be taken down, it sounds like, by the studios. So I would, if you're interested in actually checking out the leaks, make sure that you're going on as quickly as you can. They're never going to catch all of them, but then you get onto like sites that may wreck your computer. So try to go get
Yeah,
them.
so be careful out there.
Yeah, check them out. But they seem to be pretty verified in terms of like actual veracity, not necessarily like AI or anything like that. Time will tell. Obviously, this weekend is the Avatar release, and that's when they're being released in theaters. So we will get to see how true these are. But so far, it seems like these are pretty legit.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing here is at this point, this weekend's going to be very telling, specifically with the Steve Rogers related one, because he is supposed to be the first one. So I think we kind of just got to stay buckled up for that, see what comes out from this weekend, because we all know, like, we're not all going to watch Avatar. So y'all who are, like, do us all the favor. We know you're going to put it on the internet. Great. Awesome. We love and appreciate you all for doing it. So we'll see. I think if there's confirmation from this weekend, I think it's going to really blow some things up. But we're excited for that. And as T said, we will be doing our whole podcast episode on the other side of this podcasting to do all with the Doomsday leaks. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Again, if you're interested, if you're trying to avoid them, I get it. Do what you got to do. But that has been Sister Scoop for this week. We will see you guys next week as we talk about 3 more Marvel news topics. We've already covered what we're going to be doing on the podcast side, so go ahead and check that out, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.